What if we were able to program from one of the most popular computers in the world? The one that's in your pocket. In this video, I'll attempt to code on a mobile device and give you all the viable options to do so. But first off, why would you even want to code on a mobile phone? Good question. I actually don't know either. Maybe you forgot your laptop at your house when you're on vacation and you really need to write some JavaScript. Or you have sensitive eyes and a laptop screen makes your eyeballs melt. But seriously though, the biggest bottleneck you could run into with a smartphone is two things. One, the OS, and two, the screen size. But doing this experiment, I actually found some really cool use cases and urge you to stick around because maybe, just maybe, this could help you with your workflow. But let's rewind to when I was a bit more indecisive. First, what does every developer need? A keyboard, obviously. I was a bit concerned on how I was going to be able to get this set up, but clearly I was thinking in the year 2004 because connecting my keyboard and mouse was shockingly easy, as in just pairing them with Bluetooth. And then you get an integrated mouse. Okay, a bit of a nothing burger of a section. I was expecting kind of some hardships, but so far so good. But what's another thing that you need to code? An IDE. This is where things start to get interesting. Code editors. Now, I think I've tried over 12 different code editors, some much better than others, but here's some of the top ones. Now, the most obvious one here is GitHub Codespaces. What's cool about Codespaces is that it literally is just Visual Studio Code that you use on your computer on the web. With Android specifically, you can just download it like an app. Visual Studio Code is clearly made for bigger displays with multiple column setups, and even just trying to get the terminal open was a pain. This also means we have to be connected to the internet. Obviously, this is not ideal in most situations, but it is what it is. Overall though, it was a decent experience. The only thing I don't like is that whenever you try and switch between tabs, it sometimes opens up and reboots everything all over again. Even when you try and disable the idle time, I didn't really have that good of experience with it, so I don't know. But yeah, it's Visual Studio Code. Nothing new here. Now, this one was actually a bit of a surprise. Now, it cost $5, which at first I was skeptical of doing, but I obviously bought it because I wanted to make this video. It looks a lot like Visual Studio Code. I mean, let's be honest, it was most likely inspired by it, but it has that kind of Android look to it, which I don't know if I like, but you might. What I love about this is that it's actually local on your device. This makes it really fast, and you can even get a terminal using Termux. It does require some setup with the permissions and all of that, but honestly though, it was pretty easy. Now, one thing I thought was hilarious is how long it took to install Python packages. Usually this is a 2-second job in your terminal, but here it's like your code is compiling so you can go and take a break and come back tomorrow morning. Outside of that, it's honestly fairly basic, and I wasn't able to get any language servers to work despite there being some packages on there. It was able to do the syntax highlighting and that out of the box, which is cool, but the IntelliSense was just not there. Overall though, it was just okay. It was nothing to rave about, and this is just coding on a phone, like it is what it is. Now, outside of the Google Play Store, we have F-Droid, which has a couple of awesome applications to download. Termux is a terminal emulator that has a lot of basic Linux commands as well as a package manager. And this is where most of the code you want to run can be run. In the last section, we used Acode, which had an integration with Termux to activate your code. But this also introduces another possible way of editing your code. NeoVim. Now, surprisingly, this was one of the easiest things to set up. I was able to download a script off of GitHub, and it installs basically everything for me. Once the NeoVim setup is all configured, you basically can do anything you want. NeoVim is extremely customizable, and full disclaimer, I'm not a Vim person. I know the basics and how to get around and exit, but I'm not extremely efficient with it. This is by far the best code editing experience I have so far. It's extremely fast. It doesn't rely heavily on UI elements outside of the terminal, and it is extremely customizable. I mean, let's be real here. People rave about this on their computers, let alone on a smartphone. And since you're running the code in Termux anyway, this makes it an extremely useful tool to code. Now, it was at this point that I was starting to get a bit of a headache from the squinting. I immediately knew that the display was going to be an issue right off the bat. I mean, I even said it at the beginning of the video, dingus. But I really didn't expect the ergonomic situation to catch up to me, especially this quick. I know on some Android phones, you can connect it to an external display, but come on, that just defeats the purpose. So I found two separate solutions. One is something you typically see from content creators, a little mount that can hold up a phone or tablet. This option definitely looked the coolest because if someone was coming, I can quickly move it out of the way, saving myself from embarrassment. Realistically, this was the best solution. But come on, there's definitely got to be a fun solution, at least for the thumbnail. This second attachment goes around your neck and props up your phone somewhat close to your face. Now, at first, this was tough to use because it does cause a little bit of soreness on my neck, almost like wearing a VR headset, but around your neck. So yeah, worse. Also, when you move slightly, it's a bit wobbly. To be honest though, I would sometimes forget I was coding on a smartphone this way. It kind of disturbs me a little bit that I'm actually not hating this solution whatsoever. So yeah, Wally. If you want to develop AI apps with state-of-the-art AI technology, then definitely check out Qualcomm AI Hub, who is the sponsor of today's video. Chips like the Snapdragon 8 Elite, which are in a ton of edge devices, can run local models like Llama 3.2, Depth Anything, Segment Anything, and much more. And running these models locally mean that you can remove the latency that you would have from internet connections, large traffic spikes, and you get to have a completely private AI experience. There's a lot of models to choose from that will most likely fit your needs, but you can also grab some from popular websites like Hugging Face. You can also test on physical device types before you develop an app using the Profile and Inference Jobs panel. Make sure to check out Qualcomm's AI Hub if you want to develop Android apps using state-of-the-art AI technology. Thanks again to Qualcomm for sponsoring today's video. Now, it's 2025. You either love or are foaming at the mouth in anger over AI. Something I wanted to try was running a large language model locally on this device. Now, our options seem limited. But really, large language models at this level are really smart. So I have a Qualcomm Snapdragon Gen 3 on a Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Qualcomm has optimized their chips to run with it. So I'm going to create a build of Llama CPP on Android, which I'm even surprised they did that, to be honest. Now let's run. Here I have Qwen 3 1.7b running at about 35 tokens per second, which is really fast. That being said, this isn't really a smart model. Qwen 3 4B Thinking 2507 has great performance, and with Llama CPP, I get close to 20 tokens per second. Now, just remember, this is a smartphone. Llama CPP comes with an OpenAI compatible endpoint easily, and then use Avante in NeoVim as my code completion tool. And yeah, this literally works if I shut off my internet. Everything running locally, coding on a smartphone. I mean, outside of the local large language models, we of course have our standard tools we can use. To put the vibes to 100, yes, we have Claude Code running on an Android in real time, just doing its thing. I first built a web server that I can run locally using Fast API. Just built a simple demo application and then tried running locally that I could connect to through my network, and yup, there we go. I wonder if this could handle 100,000 users. And the response times are pretty good too. This is a simple app, but I enjoyed that I could go back and forth on my web browser, and sometimes you can just do the split screen on Android. Now, after spending about 2 or 3 days coding on an Android phone, I have to say it was not a fun experience. Like at all. But I was surprised at how decent it was. Some of the multitask features that exist on Android made it pretty easy to jump back and forth between NeoVim and Chrome browsers. You could even put something like ChatGPT at the side or your GitHub issues, but now I'm just gassing this up for no reason. Now, the cloud IDEs work as expected and are most likely the best option since you aren't exclusively coding on a smartphone. yeah, Android was a pretty good developer experience, I guess. You can definitely build some code that is working on production machines using your phone. Thanks for watching today's video, everyone. Let me know if you like these type of videos where I do more hardware-esque stuff. And thanks again to Qualcomm for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you check out Qualcomm AI Hub if you want to run AI models on your smartphone.